Welcome to Increase, where it is my task to increase, illustrate, and inundate you with information, knowledge, and overall help cause you to think. And I'm your host, Alpheus Gibbs Sr. What's up, good people? This is Increase. I'm your host, Alpheus Gibbs. And listen, we got a special one today. I just wanted to have a little conversation with you guys about relationships. I think that, this day and age and time, we kind of don't value relationships, no matter what kind they are. We oftentimes just enter into them kind of haphazardly without any real goal or meaning behind it. Even those who value or say that they value relationships, a lot of times through the course of situations and circumstances, they really don't care for it, or they begin to taper away from the originality of said relationship. And so I think that it's really important, especially in today's time, that we really begin to look at our relationships that we're in, the relationships that we desire to be in, and even the relationships that we have left. I think that if we really and truly understood the power that comes in relationships, I think that we will be that much further ahead. The Bible says that, you know, when there are two people together, that you're able to do more. And I'm paraphrasing it really, but it really talks about the power of two. When Jesus sent out his disciples, he sent them out two by two. When he created Adam, he created Eve because it wasn't good for him to be alone. Everything was about a relationship, even our relationship with God. It requires it's a two-way street. And I think a lot of times we really don't think about those things. We don't really look at our relationships and go, you know what? It's growing or it's maturing or it's going in a direction in which is fruitful for both parties. We oftentimes just enter into them with the sole purpose of getting what we need from a person. A lot of times our relationships are shallow because the truth of the matter is we're shallow people. We really don't have any depth. You're not a lot of people that we're in relationship with, they don't do a lot of reading. They're not into things that will explore their intelligence or even the craft and field that they work in or go to school for. And so we really don't get a chance to explore the nuances of that particular person. And so because of that, uh, I mean, we just we take people for granted. We take what they bring not only to the table for granted, but we take what they have done and we kind of just push it and brush it under the rug. And our relationships mean so much. Our relationship is a representation of who we are, and their reputation becomes a part of our reputation. You know, in the Bible it talks about how deep calleth to deep, and when we look at things, we kind of we really don't get a chance to know a person fully because they really don't share a lot of themselves. We give each other the bare minimum. You know, we'll explore our sexuality more than we'll explore the depthness of our minds and even explore the depthness of our imaginations toward and for each other. And I think that as people, we definitely need to, because we can get so much more done and we can become so much more progressive if we really and truly valued relationships. You can get so much further ahead just by the people that you know, the people that you're connected to. I remember growing up and I used to hear this all the time. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And sometimes you may not even have the education for a said position or whatever, but because you know the right people, they'll put you in position. And the people who you're leading will be the very ones who will train you on what to do. And so it's really not about what you know, but it's like who you know. And so I think about that even in a personal relationship, marriage, or even friendship. And having the right people around you can advance you, and then having the wrong people around you can actually be to your disadvantage. I think also sometimes when we look at what people have done within a relationship, it shares with us that how much they care, how much detail they are about themselves. Because when you're in a relationship with a person, you don't want them to suffer and go through various things like you've had to. So you find yourself um really just giving and just doing. And we kind of just do it without any kind of knowledge. But when you're and when you're in a relationship that really cares and really is, how can I put it? Really in the know. Like they're really in tune with who they are and what they want to do, where they want to go. You're able to work on goals better. You're able to accomplish a lot more. You're able to really look back and go, wow, we've gone through a lot, but guess what? We've overcome even that much more. And now we're able to do even, do all the things that we ever wanted to do. And you have to start dreaming even bigger. I was looking on the Pew Research Center, and it just talked about various relationships, whether it's dating, whether it was marriage. And it said most Americans say it's harder for men to know how to behave on a date in this era that we live in this Me Too movement era. And, it made me just think about, a lot of times we want people to behave themselves and move and maneuver in a way in a relationship that is pleasing for us or possibly socially normal. But we never really take the time to understand why a person moves the way that they move. When you're in a relationship with a person, you really need to know a lot about their history. Not so much as because you want to use this as ammo for later, but you really want to know it because it gives you a glimpse of why they move the way that they move, why they believe, why they see things the way that they see it, why they think the way that they think. And it's not until you're around a person who will challenge those thoughts and go, well, even though this is what you're accustomed to, or you have seen this done before this way or whatever, have you ever considered doing it this way or doing it a different way? Or have you ever considered the fact of this, that, and the third, to really give you some other options when we're in relationships with people, or whether you're trying to date a person or whether you're married? You want to look at not just what you can get out of it, but what you can give to that person, what they can give to you. It's that symbiosis type thing. Someone said, I wish I could argue with you, but you're 100% correct. Someone said shallow. Uh, Personal care, self care is godly to wholeness. Absolutely. identity crisis with men is growing, causing dating problems. I think that is something to be explored, especially because so many people are telling each sex what to do. People are trying to tell women how to be. Somebody's trying to tell men how to be, instead of just allowing people to discover a lot of things on their own. Um, because everybody's story is different. Every person that you're in a relationship with is different, and I think that you have to do what's best for your relationship. Some relationships, they are very sarcastic, or they may use terminology and things that will be offensive to others, but for them in their relationship is quite funny, or they, it's a term of endearment, whatever. And that works for them, and that's something that that identifies that relationship. You have to do the things that are healthy and beneficial to the parties or the people that are in the relationship. You can't be what everybody else wants you to be and expect yourself to be original. You have to make sure that you are being your authentic 100% self, no matter what relationship you're in, whether it's business, whether it is, friendship, or whether it's dating or married. All of those relationships require a different section of you, not a different version of you. It's just a different section. When I talk to my children, there's a father son or father daughter relationship that's different than the relationship that I have between me and my wife. That's different than the relationship I have with the members of the church that I pastor. That's different than the relationship that I have with those that I'm in business with. And even in those, there's still other offshoots of that. And what I want to impress upon the people who will watch this, whether now or later, is that your relationship needs to be what you need it to be. Your relationship needs to be one, it needs to be authentic. You need to be your authentic self within the relationship, whatever it is, whatever portion of your journey in life that you're on. Because oftentimes in relationships, we meet great people at the wrong at a time, at a difficult time. I don't want to say wrong time, but at difficult times in our life. I think that a lot of times we are great people who go through various things, and we meet other great people that may be on the upside of their life while you're in the low side of your life. And because of that, it causes issues that typically will destroy a relationship, whether it's in the start or toward the middle. And so if you're not mature enough to navigate those areas, then you're going to find yourself not only parting ways, but parting ways with animosity and misunderstanding. Communication is not only key, but understanding in the relationship more than anything is the golden ticket. I think a lot of times we're so busy trying to say that we communicating with the person that we're not even focusing our attention on the understanding part of it. I can tell you every day something that I need, but if there's no understanding there, then we're going to be missing key moments and key things that can take our relationship from just being subpar to being great. And so when you start a relationship, you need to be your authentic self, sharing what it is that you need, sharing where you are in life. You may not want to tell people that, you mentally, are in a place where you're depressed, or you have anxiety, or you're dealing with loneliness or whatever. But I think that when we're honest with not only other people but with ourselves, then we can have great relationships with people, because they know coming into it that there's some things that's going on in your life, and they themselves can share that same kind of information with you. So that leaves no room for confusion, and it leaves no room for, well, I got hurt by this person, when in actuality I came into it with my eyes wide open. So if you're going to go into it, and this first with being your authentic self, the second thing you also need to come into it with is an open mind and an open heart. You're not always right. I'm gonna say it again. You're not always right. And not only are you not always right, more so to the point, you're also not a person who always know where you're going. You may know about where it is that you're trying to get to. You're trying to get to financial freedom. You're trying to get to a place of happiness. You're trying to get to a place to regain your joy. You're trying to get a better relationship with God. Whatever the case may be, you're trying to strengthen your relationship with your family. But in the midst of all of that, you need to be open to other avenues of how to get there, because the way that you're on, or the path that you're on, may not be the best path for you to be on it. So you need to leave yourself open. So amongst you being authentic and saying, hey, this is who I am and where I am, the next thing you also need to be is open. You need to be open to the fact that someone else may know a subject better than you, or the fact that instead of you doing a lot of talking, that you just need to be quiet and listen, gain some wisdom. There is much safety in the ark of counsel, in the place of counsel. So you need to be open to those things. Be open to the fact that you may not, in the midst of you telling your life story and what you've gone through and how much pain you're feeling or whatever, you may even discover by you being open that a lot of things that you're taking on as being your fault may not even be your fault. You may find out that there's some modalities that you can experience in your life to help you to navigate your depression, or to navigate your anxiety, or to navigate how to best communicate with your family or reconnect you with your children. There's so many things that are out there now that wasn't out before, but you have to leave room for yourself to be open. In your relationships, every relationship has a um it has an assignment. It has a reason for you to be there. Some relationships you're in are there so that you can grow. Others are so that you can help others grow. Some are business so that you may be able to learn a skill or a trade. Some may be to push you out of fear in one aspect or another in your life. Others may be there to help you to heal from something that has happened in your life or currently happening. But every relationship has a reason, it has a purpose. And so you want to make sure that you are leaving yourself open to receive those things, and really enjoying the process, because that's the last thing, is enjoying the process. Every relationship has a process. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Every relationship does. And sometimes we're so busy trying to make sure that we're perfect, and we want to make sure that I'm getting what I want, or that we look good on social media or whatever. But the truth of the matter is that you really got to just enjoy the process. Enjoy the highs and the lows. Really enjoy the process of you coming out of your shell of shyness or afraid, and moving toward a level of becoming that person who you've dreamed about. Really getting to that place wherein you see yourself conquering like the world. Getting to that place where, in the process of time, that you are truly becoming the flower that you've always been, but you just needed the proper soil and the proper watering. A lot of times in our life, we get angry because we've been in relationships with people that have truly hurt us. And instead of us looking at the totality of the relationship and saying, you know what, it was good for what it was, we oftentimes look at it with bitterness, sadness, and anger, instead of really just saying, and all that went on, I really grew. I went from, this teenager to an adult, or I went from, being an adult to being a person who can truly conquer the world, or I really found out that, I will be so open to people that I'll push myself out of the way in order for them to flourish. There's so many things that we can learn just from the relationships that we're in. And more so than anything, in our relationships, really looking at, did I spend more time complaining? Did I spend more time being grateful? Did I do my best in whatever relationships I've been in thus far? What do I really bring to the relationship, to my friends? Why are they my friends? What is it about me that attracts these kind of people There's so many questions that we need to ask ourselves and really begin to discover not only who we are, but what we surround ourselves with. Sometimes the reason why we haven't progressed is because the relationships that we've established, we've made more dependence than we've made people or we fostered an environment where people can stand on their own and really begin to help each other to flourish. Sometimes we have a superhero complex and we want people to be dependent on us. And so we find ourselves always giving, giving, giving. And then you look back and you're upset because you're always the one that's giving. But you haven't noticed the fact that you really don't want them to grow. You don't want them to be able to have their own because you like the fact of giving and you like the fact of taking care of things instead of really just going back and saying, I'm really stunting their growth. I'm really a crutch to them instead of a help to them. Maybe, just maybe, the reason why people are sour and bitter is because I'm blocking the sun that's hindering and that's stopping them from growing. We can be our own worst not only critic, but we can be our own worst enemy. The inner me is our enemy. Can we just think about it for a second? The relationships that you have, the ones that were not so successful, why were they not really successful? Now, when you're thinking about that, take the other person out of the situation and then begin to look at yourself like an out of body experience and begin to ask yourself, why didn't it work? What sort of things was I doing outside of that person? Did I really feed into it? Did I gaslight a lot of things? Was I a person that really was like a knot on a log when it came to communicating? Was I a person who didn't want to go anywhere? I was like a hermit. You didn't want to leave the home. It was almost like you were paranoid. You didn't want to be seen in public other than going to work. Did you find yourself not going out because the relationship before was so toxic that you didn't want people to know anything about you? So you kind of lived like Batman. You only came out when you had to. You only was out to do certain things and then you ran back in the home. Those are the kind of things that you got to look at, especially in relationships, because this is what the other persons or people are looking at and they're pondering themselves. And so, what we attach ourselves to, we ultimately become. That's why the old saying goes that you're guilty by association, because there's something in you that's also found in them. And so the very things that they're do, you're just as likely to do those same things because you're around them. The people who we're in relationship with, we begin to pick up their lingo. We begin to pick up their way of thinking. We begin to pick up their habits, their movements, their little ticks, their clicks, their way of doing things, and never even really realize it. And before long, other people are pointing out those things. And sometimes we get defensive about it because we really have been outed or exposed by someone saying, I noticed something about you that you didn't notice about yourself. It's kind of funny when you think about it. That's how people realize where you're from. It's beyond just the Southern accent or the West Coast way of moving. Sometimes people pick up the way who we are and where we are from by the way that we move. Sometimes you opening up a door for a woman, or you may say y'all in a certain way. It's those little the subtleties that people begin to notice. They begin to hear a lingo that is only indicative to someone who lives on the West Coast or the East Coast. You may begin to wear clothes that's indicative of where you're from. People begin to pick up those things. They're like a relationship. And so when we're in relationship with people, we begin to pick up their habits. We begin to pick up their style as they begin to pick up ours. We begin to talk the same way. You begin to move your hand, your gestures. All of those things are the same. And so Our relationships that we're a part of become a reflection of who we are. And so instead of me saying to you, be careful who you should be in a relationship with, just be aware. Be aware that the people who we connect ourselves with, we're ultimately soon going to begin to act like them. I kind of laugh at times when you go to a church and you look at the leader and the way that their hair, the way that they dress, and you begin to look at the people and they begin to dress the same way. And so you just begin to go, wow, they really, they picked up the style of their leader. And so I oftentimes say to individuals, I know who your pastor is just based off of their mannerisms. And that's how people do us even in life. They go, oh, I know who you're married to. I know who you're dating or whatever, because you begin to act the same. You begin to dress, you begin to finish each other's sentences. Even in friendships, having a morbid sense of humor, dry sense of humor, various things. People begin to pick up on that. Things that we oftentimes overlook are seen and recognized by others. So it's not the question of who you're in a relationship with, but it's really a question of, is this really something you want to be connected to? Are they going in the same direction that you desire to go in? Or is this something that you just find yourself going, nah, it's not worth it? Sometimes our relationships have run its course. And instead of us recognizing that and saying, I need to move on, we hold on to them longer than what we need to. And it causes us much pain and grief. Sometimes, just maybe, if we took better inventory of our relationships, we will be able to really understand fully the direction in which we're going. Sometimes you didn't finish school or you stopped working at a place because the people that you were around, they tell you, you better than that job, or, they just using you and this, that, and the third. But you never thought about the fact that you really haven't told them the full story, or the fact that this is the best job that you could find right now. And so we begin to move prematurely, or sometimes we don't move quick enough. I just wanted to bring you to a place where you can kind of begin to question some things, sit back and have some reflection, sit back and really begin to consider the relationships that you have, and begin to go, I want better. I say this, I said this on yesterday, and I continue to say it, and that is, I want to have great relationships with the people that I'm around. Even with when it comes to people who really don't like me, you can learn even from them, and that's the sort of relationship that oftentimes isn't really discovered or explored. But that's for another time or another day. But I want to get you to really consider and think, in my relationships, how are they? How healthy are they? In my relationships, is it just a waste of time, like a game on my phone? Or are my relationships pushing me to be a better person, to be a healthy person, to be a healed person, to be a loved person, to be an appreciated person? Because a lot of times we just really begin to wash away what people really have done. And we minimize what they've done to maximize what we've done as a coping mechanism for us to make it, or to say that I'm this and I'm that. It's I'm saying this so you guys to really think about it. You're connected to individuals, you may be dating or married or have a friend or whatever. And in the midst of all of that, you sit back and you go, they're really blessed to have me. And you should ask yourself, why? Why is a person blessed to have me in their life? Because surely someone else can do what I do. But why? Why is that? And here's the thing. If you remember from the beginning of this podcast, I said you got to be your authentic self. And that is why, because I'm authentically me. Flaws and all, this is who I am. And so I want you guys to, the rest of this week, kind of think about your relationships. Think about who you're connected to, who you're friends with, who the people you follow on social media, all of that. Your marriage, all of it, and begin to go, why did I choose this person? And then not only why did I choose them, but now am I the person that's going to take it to the next level? What places can I take it to the next level? What's mine to take to the next level? Because you can. You do it all the time. You do it with children. You do it with people that you work with. You do it with customers. You do it with so many people. Inadvertently, we've done it just going shopping. Our relationship with businesses, they went from having cashiers to now everything is cashierless, and you're bagging your own stuff and you're scanning your own stuff and you're paying for things. That's a relationship that you have with the business that now they've shifted and you shifted right along with them, and you may complain, but you never stop shopping there. And so even in our relationships that we have with people, how are you? How are you correlating those things? What sort of things are you doing so that the relationship can go to the next level? What sort of things are you keeping away from them that they need to know about you? You know, you may be keeping your weird away from them. You may be keeping your nerdiness from them. You may be keeping your happiness from them. You may be keeping your pain and sorrow from them. But the thing is that everything that you keep away from them is keeping also another part of you from them. And so, how can they truly know who you are when the parts of you that they need to know you've kept away from them? You want healthy, happy, healed, whatever you want to call it, relationships. And it's going to take place when you become transparent and you be honest with yourself. You be your authentic self and you push the relationship to be better and to grow and to mature. And it's not always about going somewhere or spending money, but it's truly about connecting on a deeper level, opening yourself up to them so that they themselves and that you yourself can begin to come even closer together in being that true bonded relationship. Listen, this is me. And who is me? Alpheus Gibbs. And this is Increase. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for commenting. Um, we are on YouTube as well. When we go live here on Facebook, we're also going live on YouTube as well. So if you're not, want to share this with people who are not on Facebook, you can always share the link on YouTube. And I'm greatly appreciative of everybody. You guys have an amazing week. Today is Monday. So today we starting off, we starting the week off great. We starting the week off thinking about relationships and where we want them to go. And then Friday, we're going to pick up where we left off at in this conversation, taking this conversation to a greater level. So you guys have an amazing day, an amazing week. And I can't wait to see you all really soon right here on Increase. God bless.